Hello and welcome. Andrea here from Sea to Sun. Today I'm going to talk to you about the difference between processed foods and whole foods, give you solid examples of those and common things that we see in the American diet with those. I will go through some of the benefits of the whole foods, and additionally I want to help you go through how you can add some whole foods to your diet. If you're starting out and you need a little help with that, I'll go over some examples of how you can add some of these things to your diet easily and not have to change your entire diet. We're just adding a few things here and there. And then I will also list off the things that I always keep in my house as staple whole foods. And I build the rest of my diet around that, but I always have these in my home. So what are whole foods? Think of whole foods as being a one ingredient food that's easily recognizable. Eggs, beans, vegetables, fruit, nuts. They're easy to identify in nature as they are in the store. They usually have very little packaging. They don't have ingredient labels on the back, and they're perishable. They're not gonna last forever. In contrast, processed foods come highly packaged, whether it's plastic, then in a box, cans. Think of Top Ramen, think of macaroni and cheese, think of canned foods themselves. You'll always have ingredients, ingredient labels. Oftentimes it's hard to read what the ingredients are. In addition to that, you'll notice that there's often higher sugar, fat, or sodium content. You may have food dyes in processed foods as well. They will stay a long time. They're not as perishable as whole foods. In addition, you'll always notice the processed foods are the foods that are being advertised. But you never see whole foods like cabbage, carrots, or grapes being advertised. But you often see different types of pizza and fast food, or granola bars on TV, or cereals, sugary cereals. All of those are processed foods. That's a dead giveaway. So what are the benefits of eating whole foods? Well, one of the most important things to remember is that our bodies know how to digest and metabolize and extract the right vitamins and minerals and nutrients from whole foods. But in addition to that, we get the proper proportions of vitamins and minerals when we're eating a whole food diet. Nature naturally provides that within the whole foods. In addition, eating whole foods allows you to respond to your natural hunger cues much easier. When you're eating highly processed, hyperpalatable foods, it's very easy to overeat those foods because you're not getting the actual feeling of feeling full, but you're getting all of the calories. Wherein whole foods, you start feeling full and naturally can listen to your body's hunger cues. I also wanted to just point out something that's important to keep in mind is eating mindfully. This was something I really personally had to work on, and I'm gonna give you a couple of tips right now. The first thing I did was I started setting a timer so that I was actually eating longer. I would then turn around and put my utensil down. In between bites, it slowed me down. I was really paying attention and becoming aware of how I was eating. The other thing that was really critical for me is to stop multitasking during my eating. I was just eating. I was setting a 15-20 minute timer. I was listening to my hunger cues, and I was noticing by slowing my eating down, you will get full quicker and not eat as much. Now I'd like to talk to you about some of the daily common ultra processed foods that we eat in America. So let's start off with some highly processed carbohydrates. They are often things like soda pop, donuts, pastries, macaroni and cheese, top ramen, white bread, crackers. In contrast, whole food carbs are things like brown rice, lentils, oats, fruit, quinoa. Highly processed protein is stuff like hot dogs, deli lunch meats, fish sticks, nuggets. Whole food proteins are things like grass-fed beef, pastured chicken, wild-caught game, wild-caught seafood and fish, and things like organic pasteurized eggs. Highly processed fats are deep fried foods, cooking sprays, margarine. Whole food fats are things like avocados, coconut, extra virgin olive oil. This gives you an example of what the processed foods are versus natural with your different macros with carbs, proteins, and fats. As long as you can kind of be aware of these, it will help you in making better food choices. Another tip for when you're shopping is make sure that you're shopping on the outside circumference of the store first, because the more processed foods are in the middle aisles. So if you can start your shopping with the outside circumference, you will at least be starting with getting more whole foods that way. It's just a great tip that I always do. I always make sure I start on the outside circumference. And then if I'm going into the middle aisles and picking up some Triscuits or something like that, fine. But it keeps me more aware that once I'm getting into the inside aisles, that's where more of your processed foods are. Okay, so now that we've gone over what some whole foods are versus processed, commonly bought processed foods at the grocery store are, let's go into how you can add some more whole foods to your diet. We don't need to change our entire diet, but adding some more whole foods is very beneficial and can help you in tremendous ways. So start off by being aware of the things that you like. So what vegetables and fruits do you like? Do you like brown rice? Do you like quinoa? Do you like sweet potatoes? Do you like apples, grapes? Do you like broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower? Add a couple of things to your grocery list. Maybe you can also start by adding more herbs and spices. I cook a lot more now with herbs and spices that are fresh, like basil or cilantro, rosemary. I also make sure that I add things like onion and garlic to most of my meals as well. And as a side note, something that I found, the Yuka app, I believe that that's how you pronounce it, YUKA, has been very, very helpful for me. When I am buying foods that are in a bag that I know are processed foods, it can really help give you a gauge on not only food, but the Yuka app also is great for health and beauty products. And I also started finding my natural organic sunblocks via the Yuka app as well. But in terms of food, it really is great. It will break down the types of chemicals that's in the food. You just scan the back of the barcode of the food and it breaks everything down for you, whether it's high sugar, whether it's high sodium, whether it's carcinogenic because of the preservatives, whether it's a lot of food dyes. This app has been amazing at helping me make decisions with some of the more processed foods that I am eating. And I wanted to go into explaining how you can add 1 change and alter. If you're in the beginning stages of getting healthier and you don't really know where to start, don't try and change all of your meals or all of how you're eating. That's completely overwhelming and really, really, really hard to do. So start off by picking one meal in your day that you feel like you could work on. Maybe you want to change your breakfast and you are normally eating pastries for breakfast and you decide that you're going to maybe scramble some eggs and add some little cherry tomatoes and spinach, something simple. Maybe you decide that you want to start making like spinach kale salad that you're putting a bunch of colorful vegetables in and you're doing that for your lunch, or maybe you're doing that at dinner prior to eating the meal that you're cooking for dinner so that you're getting some more fruits and vegetables and nutrients and minerals in your diet. But don't try and overhaul your entire diet morning, noon, and night. Try and pick things that are going to be easy enough for you to sustain. Maybe you want to just start with eating a few more fruit throughout the day or a handful of organic nuts. These are helpful things that you can just start adding little things that will give you better nutrients and fiber and water content in your diet. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I always keep a staples food list of my whole foods, and I'm going to go over that with you. I always have organic nuts, and to keep them fresher for longer, I put them in the freezer. I always have quinoa. I always have a variety of beans. If soaking beans and cooking beans is too hard and you just don't have the time for it, you can get canned beans. I add these to my omelets, I add them to my salads and get some extra protein and fiber. I always soak them first and I'll do a 24-hour soak and then cook them. And I do a batch that's big enough for the week so that you're not doing constant batches of quinoa or constant batches of beans. Doing a little bit of food prep makes everything a lot faster. Also, on that note, with your vegetables, if you can prepare your fruit and vegetables ahead of time, that's gonna save you a lot of time. Wash them up, cut them up ahead of time, put them in the fridge. That way, when you go to add them to your salads, a stir fry, an omelet, they're ready to rock and roll. You're not wasting a bunch of time doing all of that food prep. It's ready. So that's another tip that I've learned, and it's made my life so much easier by continuing to do that. This is my staples food list: the organic nuts, the quinoa, chia seeds, chopped garlic, coconut oil, flaxseed, spinach, blueberries, eggs, beans, sweet potatoes. Gives me a nice basis, and then I can add and do other things within my diet throughout the week, and it just makes it easier for me to not have to think about those things all the time when I go shopping. Hopefully this has been helpful, giving you a down low of what some whole foods are versus processed foods, so you can kind of be aware of them when you do go shopping next. It doesn't mean that you need to clear out your cupboards in the kitchen because you have processed food in there. It's just a matter of wanting to add a few more whole foods into your diet. It's unrealistic to try and change too many things at once. So if you can pick one part of your diet that you could realistically add some whole foods to, it's a lot more manageable and sustainable, and then it becomes easier. When you break things down into small pieces, you're able to get bigger results down the road without it being too overwhelming. Try this. Pick whether you want to do your breakfast, your lunch, or your dinner, and figure out where you might be able to add a few whole foods to help yourself and your family. Thank you. like, subscribe, and be your best self.